And welcome back to the Cybersecurity Matchmaker. I am so excited to be here this week with these two guests. It's kind of like I picture it in my head, and I think like this is just such a great match to have together. We have Hillel Fuld and we have Ephraim Yarmak. And we're continuing on this theme of like people who just kind of became marketers somehow. Now, I don't want to like assume anything with Hillel or Ephraim that you would call yourself marketers. I kind of feel like you would, but if you don't like it, the term, that's just going to be a fun part of the conversation. But when I think of marketing, because I'm like a latecomer to marketing, I love it. And my whole thing is that marketing is being like human well, like doing humaning well, like communication. Like if you want something from somebody, just really appealing to what's important to them and being real and interacting. So like I've just seen that. So it's a compliment from me to be a marketer. And you know, the theme also that, you know, it's a good time for this idea of like, there's so much out there complaining about tech sales, complaining about tech marketing, complaining about tech customers. So I just love people who like, instead of complaining, just are like, what can I do out here? Like, what's missing? And like, instead of like what somebody else should do, like, what do I want to do to make this better? And both of you are totally like that. And I love that. We're going to get into like detailed, but first we're talking about what's similar about them. And the thing that's so cool is that both of them like built their brand on just connecting people to each other, to companies, to people for jobs and candidates for people for jobs. And I don't think either of you would ever call yourself recruiters, but that could also be wrong. But I am a recruiter and I do it, you know, for a living, but like it was like a compulsion for me. Like it's not something that I only do, you know, like when it falls into the category of something I earn a living from. I can't stop introducing people. I love it. And I have a sneaking suspicion that both of you are like this. So by way of just making sure we do get specific about who you guys are. Hillel Fuld is a world-renowned tech marketer. He was actually named the man transforming the startup nation, which is the most affectionate nickname for Israel, to the scale-up nation. And he's also helped numerous and established tech orgs and startups develop their go-to-market strategies. So that like screams marketing to me, but it could be a million things. So we're going to hear what that is. Also, he is an amazing content creator, and that's kind of part of, I'm sure, where the journey starts for everybody. And he does evangelize on things that he thinks are cool and amazing. And then Ephraim is also a tech influencer. I wasn't allowed to use the word influencer for Hillel. Anyway, we'll talk about that. And you like, from what I understand, and I want to hear more, but you are on a mission to empower startups and those seeking jobs in the field. And when COVID came out, and this is how I found you or saw your work, he was doing this amazing thing, 1,000 hires, and trying to get 1,000 people employed during the COVID chaos. And we'd love to hear about that. And currently, what I love about him is just like you see Ephraim having interviews with all of the all the startup founders, especially in cybersecurity. Is it only cybersecurity or no?
No, it's everything.
Okay. So it happens to be like a ton of my clients.
Wait, hold on. Mimi. Like, there's a comment here that like literally took the words right out of my mouth. I had to say it. Like, please tell me you look like Jennifer Aniston.
That is very nice, and I will take it. But like, no.
No one's ever said that to you.
No.
You see that there's a comment here that says you.
But also, my hair looks quite different times.
It's like borderline. It's like borderline scary how much you look like her. But
okay, anyway. I will take that all the way to the bank. Thank you. So let's hope I age that well. So anyway, so yeah, I'm so excited to have you. So there's two things. There's the theme of connecting people. And then there's this other piece that both of you have, which is like efficiency and making things happen. Like, I noticed it the minute I was able to get in touch with Hillel. Now, I've been a follower of Hillel for a while, but I kind of like, I had this feeling like until I know why I want to have Hillel on the show or why I want to talk to Hillel, like, don't reach out. Like, what's, what is it? And then I had this thought, reached out within 5 minutes. We had a date that we had to change, but we had a date, we had a theme, I had his bio, I had his picture. It was like, can do all the way. And Ephraim, similarly, like once we got it all organized, you were like right on top of it. And I'm sure that that translates into many things that you guys do. And I want to start there, even though it doesn't sound like marketing, but I think it's at the heart of really what, like when good marketing happens, there's a crispness to it. And I feel like it's connected, but I'd love to hear from you guys. Like, does that spur anything?
I think Hillel should go first because I learned from Hillel. Hillel has so many shortcuts on his phone that I utilize that I learned from him.
Do we get to see these?
So let's talk about this. Okay, so first of all, let me just say that like when you talk about connecting people, by the way, my sound is okay, the volume's okay.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I hope the viewers agree. Actually, I'm going to turn on the chat. I'm going to look at the chat so we can see it. Oh yeah, I think someone else said the thing about Aniston. I think it's the way I have my hair today. So we'll just take note. Anyway, so I do want to invite our viewers to like put stuff in here. I will totally acknowledge everybody at some point. Go for it.
Okay. So first of all, when it comes to connecting people, like I want to be Ephraim when I grow up. I mean, you have never met a connector like this. It's kind of nuts. Like every time I see him in like a cafe in Tel Aviv, he's sitting with the this new hotshot. I'm like, how do you have access to these people? The guy's like a machine. That's first of all. Second of all, as far as efficiency is concerned, one of the questions that I get pretty regularly is like, how are you doing this? Like, how are you writing Inc. articles, doing YouTube videos, doing a podcast, marketing startups, writing for like, how the heck are you doing this? And I'm not like some kind of like Superman. I've literally built a well-oiled machine that I use to optimize the heck out of my time. So I'm going to give you 2 examples of what I'm talking about. But I will say that on a daily basis, if I tell you that I save 4 hours a day on this optimization, I'm not even exaggerating. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. And both of these examples, anybody can do with minimal effort. First example. On iPhone and on Android, all Android phones and all iPhones, there is a feature, okay? On iPhone, it's called text replacement. On Android, it's called personal dictionary, okay? Let me tell you something.
I love this.
This is like, I don't understand how there's a human being on planet Earth that does not use this feature, okay?
There's a person watching this right now who I just talked about this yesterday with. So I'm just looking at you. Okay. But yes, the best thing ever. Tell us how you use it.
Okay, so there are things that we write on a daily basis more than once, okay? I'm not talking about an email address that you write 100 times. I'm just saying like there are paragraphs or sentences like, okay, for example, my bio, right? Anytime I'm doing any speaking engagement, they ask me for my bio. Or anytime I set a meeting with someone and they're like, okay, let's meet tomorrow at 9:00. I now need to say to this person, great, please send me a calendar invite. Here's my email address. Please include the context. That sentence, which takes me 30 seconds to write, 400 times a day. Right? So like these things.
Will you be on my show? Will you be on my show? Right.
There's no reason that I should be writing my email address 900 times every day, or my phone number, or my home address, or my bio, or anything else. So literally any sentence / paragraph that I write more than once, I set up a text replacement. So literally it can be anything from when an entrepreneur reaches out to me and they're like, hey, Hill, I want to meet you. Now I need to ask this person why they want to meet me. Do you want to meet me because you need help with marketing? You want me to blog about you? You want me to introduce you? Give me the context. Now, I need to ask that question because it could be that this is a completely irrelevant meeting, but it also could be that it's very relevant. I need to ask that question without sounding like an a-hole. Like I don't want to sound condescending. So I need to ask it in a nice way. So that paragraph to write, hey, happy to meet, just please give me context. Is it this? Is it this? That paragraph takes me about 4 minutes to write. 20 times a day. So I set up a shortcut where I write the word context with 2 question marks. And it's important to make a shortcut that you won't use in a regular sentence. So I write the word context with 2 question marks and it fills in the entire paragraph. Or for example, I'll write the word updated bio in 1 word because I'll never write that in a sentence. And then it fills in my entire bio. So I cannot even tell you, hours. Literally, out of every 20 emails that I send, 19 of them are shortcuts. And I'm not exaggerating.
I am so excited that you brought that up, because it's like, it's one of those little things that I do it. But I don't do it for the things you're saying. I do it for certain kinds of outreach, but just interactive things. I want to bring it back. Like that, Hillel, is branding to me, because you had to think ahead of time how you wanted that messaging to go.
Okay, I turned off my background because I want to show you.
I love your real background. I want to
show you. I want to show you. I couldn't do this with a virtual background, so I turned it off for 1 second. Hold on. I'm going to go into my general. Can
we agree for a second that that's actually marketing, what you're doing right there? Because you're branding how you come across. That could, why are you taking 1 million minutes like out of your life to think of a new way to do that every day? You are you.
This is my text replacements on my iPhone. Okay. Watch.
Wow.
I basically an entire dictionary. So I'll give you an example. One other example. Okay. And then I'll go to my second shortcut. Hold on. Let me turn on my, where's my virtual
I think
background?
For most people, this is literally going to be mind blowing. Can I use the shortcut function with my wife when texting?
Dude, you could use this for any app, by the way, in any app. So wait,
if you think about the classy answer to use ahead of time and you always know it's going to work, probably better than answering on the spot.
so I'll just give you one more example, and then I'll talk about the second shortcut. The other example is I don't know if you guys see this. If you follow me, you see I eat in a lot of restaurants. I'm a foodie, and so I get the question, let's say anywhere between 5 and 10 times a week. Please give me your favorite restaurants. Like, where should we eat? Cool. And so I would sit there like writing this list every time, and I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, this is inefficient. So I made a list, and I write the word best rest in one word, and it fills in like per city. Like, here are the best restaurants in Manhattan. Here are the best restaurants in Jerusalem. Here are the best restaurants
in one text.
In one long text. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Wow.
I probably, Ephraim, have I ever said this to you?
No,
can I have it?
I knew you had a document. I saw it recently, like a few months ago. I saw you put out a document.
I have sent this list easily to 300 people, and I probably got restaurants. I don't even know how much business because of this list. I'm not even kidding. So that's
cool. Look, people are already
they should definitely have the Hillel special if they get it from you from this tech list. That's for sure.
So that's shortcut number one.
Hillel, I just want you to feel really good about yourself, because people are already doing this on the chat. Like, they're saying that they're already incorporating this into their lives, and you're changing lives.
Awesome. Okay, so now let's add another layer to that shortcut. Okay, another layer. So I'll find myself dealing with, let's call it a mistake that some entrepreneur makes. So I'll just give an example. Let's say an entrepreneur wants me to introduce him to David, or you know what, even better, an entrepreneur wants to introduce me to David. So he'll send an email, hey, David, meet Hillel. Hillel, meet David. And I'm like, dude, what in the world is the context here? Why would you not speak to me before making an intro? Like, give both sides the context before you make an introduction, right? So explaining that to someone would take me 12 minutes, right? And it happens more times than I care to admit. So I said to myself, well, instead of explaining it every time, why don't I do something else? So what did I do? I said to myself, okay, well, I write a lot. I write for a lot of different publications. So I'll write an article about how to make a business introduction. And then I'll add a shortcut to my phone saying, thanks for the intro. Do me a favor. Check out this article and look at point 2. In the future, maybe consider doing this. And you cannot even imagine. And that's just one example.
I feel like some people would be annoyed with that.
No. So that's the thing. I say it in a nice way. I'm not mean about it at all. Okay. But in the article, it says why it's important to give side. Like it is. This is a whole different topic. But like someone once made an introduction to like a really senior tech exec in one of these big tech companies, and they made the introduction. They didn't give me context. They didn't give the executive context. I thought she knew the context. She thought I knew the context. We get on a call, and I'm like, hey, and she's like, hey. I'm like, nice to meet you. She's like, nice to meet you. I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? No, I said, how can I help? She goes, how can I help? I'm like, what are we talking about? She goes, I thought you knew. I'm like, I thought you knew. Most awkward conversation in the world. Yeah. Just like give context. So bottom line, those are just 2 examples of like, quote unquote,
you want to hear something crazy about that one as well. I love how all of these are like literally universal, like things that everyone struggles with. But that particular one, I think everybody struggles with. Like, I have a practice to really try hard to do the answer as quickly as humanly possible, but it's the most annoying thing. And I want to put it off. And I think everybody probably has a little folder of like the intros that like you need to get to by the end of the day, or it's rude. And it's like, so I think like having something like, I mean, it's a little different what you're saying, like the context, but I think just even having a system for how you handle these types of things that are regularly annoying, but also really important and gratifying.
Right.
It's just like an amazing foundational
so
efficiency
one more
concept.
sentence, and I want to hear Ephraim's hacks. But one more sentence here, and this is the kicker. This is why it's most important. The other day, someone who I respect a lot and admire a lot wrote me a LinkedIn message and said, "I'm just curious. Do you use software to distribute each post to all your different platforms, or do you actually go in one by one?" And I said, "I do it one by one." And he goes, "Well, that's inefficient." I'm like, "But that's the thing. I save time on things that are redundant so that I can do things that are important the right way." So to use software to distribute a post across all platforms, to me, that is just bad marketing, because I have different audiences on each platform. And each platform, one's more visual, one's more short form, one's more long term. You can't use software. That is where you should not apply shortcuts. Like, shortcuts can be applied to certain things, not for relationships. So I now have more time to dedicate to things that are actually important, because I'm not wasting time on things that are redundant. So that's kind of my high level.
That's a great thing. I think a lot of people run into that. Companies run into that, automating things that, like, if you have to do it 10 times in a week, that's not crazy. If especially even if that's going to help you do it better, there's things that shouldn't be automated. That's like huge takeaway, I think, for a lot of people thinking about the things. I've struggled with Zapier on things for like a week, and then I'm like, why can't I just do it manually? Like, it's like way too complicated to like do that. And so that's like a huge, probably, like, people are like light bulbing everywhere, I think, thinking about all those things that they're like hammering in. So Ephraim, what about you? You also are everywhere. You're doing everything. How do you keep things efficient?
Oh, I don't. Trust me. I don't keep anything efficient. There are a few things that I know that helps
keep things good. So let's hear more about that.
One thing you just mentioned, Zapier. Zapier is a lifesaver. I mean, between Zapier, Airtable, and Notion, to combine all those three, you could do so many incredible things. I started using specifically Airtable for CRM. I created a whole entire personal CRM out of that, and I'm able to connect that with notes and other different types of things all around it. But I think what really helps me, the most basic, simple stuff, is I started archiving on WhatsApp. WhatsApp's my main form of communication, and even LinkedIn. I get a ton of messages a day. I archive chats. Anytime I get a chat, I respond it, I archive it. And then it'll pop back up. No, it just gets archived. So it's not so right now. My whole WhatsApp,
you archive it so you don't see it in front of you.
Exactly.
So you're looking at like a clean slate of relevant things.
A clean slate, and I'm only responding to the messages that I know that have recently popped up. I do that on WhatsApp. I do it on text. It's the most simplest, easiest thing. Cool. And I do it the same thing with inbox. So it leaves everything clear the whole entire time. So I get a chat. You don't
have like 5,000
exactly
emails in your inbox.
Yeah. I delete messages also. Unless there's a follow-up or something, I delete it. And then I put in my Airtable. Okay, this is the last time I had contact with this person. So if I know if I need to go back to it, I can always respond and start a new conversation with them. And what was the context for last time? So keeping on top of that, like, really makes everything more.
Do you have any thoughts? Like, I'm just curious. Like, you really do. You're talking to a lot of people, and it's relationship building. So it is different than sales. And same thing with what I do. And so with sales, CRMs, it's like there's a next step that's obvious or logical or predetermined. How do you manage like so many relationships that are really growing into like real authentic friendships? I'm just curious about that, because like I do see you with another person having like, really significant relationship building conversations every day. So, it's not like, okay, tomorrow is an email. So how do you do that? Stay in touch with people, that kind of thing.
So, I mean, Hillel, want to take a stab at it first? Go ahead.
We're very different. Okay. I love Ephraim. Ephraim knows that we're very different when it comes to this stuff, because I use no software. For me to stop working, to open Monday or to open Asana or to open whatever, to document what I'm doing, makes no sense to me. I'm going to keep working. Now, a couple of things. Number one, I fully recognize that this is an unsustainable thing. Having said that, my CRM for the past 20 years has been my head. Okay. Let me just tell you about archiving, right? So I have this is another hack. I have a built-in, like an integrated time hack. What do? I don't use task management. My task management is my inbox. So if I have a task, it's in my inbox. When I finish that task, I archive it. What does that mean? That means I have a built-in incentive to get stuff done because I'm obsessed with inbox zero. So
That's
if it's
great.
in my inbox, I'm like, get it the heck out of here. That means I need to do that task, right? I've never used Monday. Don't get me wrong, I love Monday, but I've never used any of these tools. Don't use a CRM. Don't use any, Airtables. None of them. I don't use any of them. I mean, some companies that I work with use them, so I have to use them. But
Like
for
they
myself,
want you to
not
log
at
in
all.
or something.
Right now,
But it slows you down. You're saying like having something like that. I am shopping around for certain technology right now, and I heard a really interesting influencer talk about a ClickUp influencer. I wish I could remember her name, but talk about just the idea that when you're looking at technology, you have to treat it like you're interviewing a candidate for a job.
Yeah.
And like, if it's slowing you down, like you have to say, is it slowing me down
Exactly.
because like it's going to speed me up later, or is it slowing me down and like it's just ruining my thing? It's interesting. Like, I think I wonder. So now, like, just whipping it into entrepreneurs, because you guys all of us are constantly interacting with founders and entrepreneurs, and we're entrepreneurs ourselves. So, like, do you hear from other founders and entrepreneurs? Like, do you hear things like this, or unconventional little struggles with these types of things? Yeah. Like, do you have the impression? I do have the impression that the most efficient founders I work with, like, just do stuff. They don't like things happen. It is fast. When things are slow, it's one of my first red flags that things are a little bit funky in the organization. Right. Now, I watch red flags. It's part of my job. I'm always watching red flags, but I also always take them with a grain of salt, because I'm not going to like call it a red flag right away. Maybe it's painful. So what do you say? Do you see a theme? Like, founders who are successful are efficient? I guess that's
I think listen, I think once you grow to a level that like you have to use the CRM. Like, again, I'm a one-man show. I don't have a team. I don't have, so I for now, I mean, I'm not getting any younger, but for now it's all up here. Is that sustainable long-term? I don't know. And maybe when I get, I don't know, when I slow down a little bit, maybe I will use a CRM. I don't know. But like, obviously when you're building a company and it's not just one person, you obviously need to use software. That's obvious. But generally speaking, yeah, I mean, some of the best entrepreneurs that I engage with are just like super duper, like super fast, super efficient. Yeah. I'm not saying that it's a necessary, like you have to be, there are some entrepreneurs, listen, you could tell already how ADHD I am, right? I'm all over the place, but that's how I work. Like, if you look at
it's a superpower. When you harness it, it's a total superpower.
Right. So I'm doing 54 things at once. Like, if I'm doing one thing at once, there's something very wrong. Like, I'm all over the place, right? There are entrepreneurs who I respect and who are a lot smarter than me, who are hyper-focused on one thing, and that's fine.
Sure.
Personally, I can't relate to that. Like, how do I not follow what's going on Twitter or TikTok, when I'm writing this article? I need to know, like, I don't know. Again, it's the ADHD. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, the foundation of it all, I know this has become cliche, but things become cliche because they're true. At the end of the day, at the foundation of everything, in business in general, is people, right? At the end of the day, I always compare it. This is a thing that I heard in yeshiva, but like, it's very relevant to business, which is business. People view business as a zero-sum game. Like, if I'm giving you money, I must be losing something, which is just so ridiculous. It is so not the case. And business is, the analogy that I love is a candle. And a candle gives its fire and it loses nothing, right?
Some say the same about love.
There you go. So I once said, this is a funny story. I once said this to a guy, a good friend of mine named Christoph, who works at IBM Ventures, Christoph. And I said, Christoph, business is like a candle. You give your fire, you lose nothing. And he goes, Hill, you know what? It actually goes deeper than that. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, if you don't give your fire, you end up burning out yourself.
Oh, and I'm like, my God.
I'm like, Christoph, you should be a Hasidic Rebbe. Like, it was so great, But I love that.
Is awesome. And it's so true. I find that I'm going to take efficiency out of the ring for a second and say, generousness of spirit. When I see entrepreneurs who have that, like, things happen. Yeah. And when you see people who are like really scared all the time about like competition and scared about things and holding things back and not like just going, you're right. It really has a combustive vibe. I just want to acknowledge, because I'm so happy we have these awesome viewers. There was a whole cheesecake conversation happening. Looks really interesting. I think they were trying to poach you to do some like serving at the restaurant or something. But and then also I just want to say, hey, Michael from Lancaster, and then also Ariel, who love your stuff. Thanks for tuning in. Just talking about delegating. But like delegating is one of those things that actually I feel like the people who delegate the best are really efficient about it. It's like, this needs to be done. This can be done. Here it is. And then goodbye.
This is the downside of my, or the actually limitation of my business, which is I can't delegate, right? Because, I mean, if I'm getting a company press, right, my ability to get them an article on Forbes is because I have a relationship with the journalist. Sure. My ability to get a startup in front of an investor is because that investor trusts me. Right. So I can't.
Like, how many times do you need to talk to the person at Forbes for yourself? Like, there's a limit. You don't need it. You need to spread it. So, Ephraim,
I can't delegate anything.
Yeah, I relate. Struggle is real. But so Ephraim, tell us, you're talking to, like, you are literally, that's what you're doing right now, talking to founders about their struggles. Is this conversation, like, how does that fit into like what you're seeing?
Very, very relevant. Very relevant. But I want to add what Hillel said is that the best founders that I've met and the best investors I've met are the nicest people that want to give and want to help.
Totally.
Right? They want to give. They want to take, like you mentioned, they want to help you. They want to spread their own candle to other people. The people that have a bad name or is not as nice, it's very select few. Most people really want to help other people. But when you mentioned before, a startup goes through multiple phases and a founder goes through multiple phases. We're in the beginning stage, they're doing everything. So they're not very efficient time-wise and disciplined, and they're focused on so many different aspects. And then as the company continues to scale and grow, they're going to have to get more disciplined and be able to focus on one priority at a time, every quarter or whatever it may be, and focus on one thing and then move forward to the next thing. Essentially what happens at the end, the founder has 3 jobs, which is to raise funds, bring on talent and make sure the vision is going into play. But before that, they'll be focused. And the biggest complaint is the fact that there's lack of time. But I think also it's not just a lack of time. It's a lack of figuring out what's a priority currently right now. And that's, I think, a struggle that we all have. Like, okay, what is the current priority that I need to focus on right now? And then move forward from there. And
I find, do you find this, that there is a certain kind of inner confidence that founders have to have, because they can get so thrown off by, let's say, VCs pressuring them in a certain direction, or like the idea like, okay, we just need to hit those first 10 customers right now. So like, we want to skip steps, but like they in their heart know, like, we need to do this the right way. So I find there is like a kindness and a generousness of spirit, is my way of saying, I think, what you said, but also a certain confidence that isn't cocky, like a certain kind of like ability to take pressure and
that comes with experience and time. I don't think anyone's born with that. I don't think, some people have it naturally. But, if you speak to any founder that had to go through the whole entire difficult process of raising funds and raising another fund and finding customers and finding design partners and finding talent, like you hear stories all the time where, like, for example, that they almost had like the term sheet signed and it got backed off, right? They took it away, or they try to recruit somebody, and at the last second, the person they try to recruit, like, backed off too, found another job somewhere else, and these things sting and they hurt. And the founders that are able to, like, most founders are not going to run away from that pain. You want to feel that pain. You want to feel the emotion and deal with it. But don't let it hold you down and paralyze you. You have to move forward afterwards. You can't, and that's comes with practice over time, and that comes from experience.
That what you said there is like really deep. Just the idea, like, they're not running from the pain, and I think there is like a little bit of like, that's the strength that it takes to be a founder. Is like, you can't be a person who runs. Yeah, no, believe me, there's a lot of therapy when you're dealing with, when you're providing services for startups or interacting with founders a lot, there's so much psychology. I mean, I'm sure I make people annoyed with how much I compare it or bring in psychology, but I think, like, I tell people this who are transitioning from big company to startups all the time. Like, when you're joining a startup, it really is like joining with a human, because let's say a bigger company has buffers of HR, like many, many buffers of HR. They show you exactly what they want you to see. Like, it's the perfect picture. There's always going to be all that crazy stuff inside, but like, you're not going to see it right away. With startups, you see like a complex beast that you're interacting with. And like, the crazy that's there could be a crazy that you can connect with, or it can be a crazy that makes you terrified. But like, it really is very, very, like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, do you see that? Or is that just my own imagination wanting to make dating metaphors real?
100%. And, you know, I could not agree more with what you just said about the psychology thing. Like, I think anybody who tries to separate between psychology and marketing does not get marketing, period. Like, marketing is psychology. I just have to tell you something.
My thesis.
I don't believe in coincidences. And I promise you, 5 minutes ago, before I got on this stream, I was just like chilling out, watching my TikTok, doing my thing. And I came across this video that I have to share with you. I literally saw it 5 minutes ago. But it,
should I try to let you share it?
It is amazing. No, I can't find that on TikTok now. Okay, here's the thing.
Like, I can try. Restream is terrible, but I can try.
He goes, this person says, what is the difference between marketing, like basically good marketing and bad marketing? That's whatever. He called it branding and advertising, but good marketing, bad marketing. So he told the following story, and I love this. And I hope I could tell it well. I've never told this before. I just heard it, but here's the story. I have, you know, a big event coming up, whatever. I have my, you know, my parents' 50th anniversary, and I'm going to speak, and I'm getting all ready, and I'm getting all dressed up and all whatever. And I'm, okay, it's a half-hour drive away. I'm going to take an hour and a half so I can get there and prep and everything, and I'm all ready to go. Great. I open my garage. It's pouring rain outside. Okay, no problem. I get in my car. I have an hour and a half. I'm calm. Get in my car, start driving. On the way, I blow a tire. Tire blows. So I'm not going to get out of the car. It's pouring rain. I'm in a suit. So I'll call a tow truck. Calls the tow truck. And tow truck takes a half hour to get there, which already cut his prep time in half, right? So he's a little bit nervous, but he's still good. The tow truck guy comes over to his window. He rolls down the window and he goes, "Did you order a tow truck?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you made the right decision by calling us because we are the best tow truck company. That tow truck back there, look at those wheels. Those are proprietary wheels. We've been working on this vehicle for 5 years. We are the best in the business." And he's going on and on. What is this guy thinking to himself? He's thinking, get me the hell on the road. I don't want to hear about you. The second scenario, right? Another guy comes and he goes, "Oh, did you order a tow truck?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "All right, well, our motto is we're going to get you on the road in 15 minutes. Great. This guy goes home at night. Which one of those two companies is he telling his friends about, right? Most companies are talking about themselves, nonstop talking about themselves. No one cares. Do not talk about yourself. No one wants to follow a company on Twitter that talks about themselves. No one wants to read a company blog about yourself. But if you focus on the recipient and you focus on the real, tangible value that you can give that recipient, that is good marketing. And that manifests, by the way, in a million different things at a very practical level, just like the most practical, like basic level. Instead of writing a company blog about yourself, imagine writing a company blog in which you just interview industry leaders. You give them a stage, right? Ephraim knows a certain British young man by the name of Harry Stebbings, right? Who is a young dude in the UK who started a podcast called 20 Minute VC. And all he does is he interviews VCs. This podcast has gotten so big that, like, if you're a VC and you're not on 20 Minute VC, you're not a VC. Like, you're no one, right? He started his own fund right now just based on the relationships that he cultivated through his podcast. So interviews, right? Instead of giving yourself a stage, give others a stage. And then what happens? What happens when you interview someone? You reach out to them. Number one, by offering a stage, you just established a relationship, which is in and of itself like a huge deal. Like, I've interviewed the founder of Apple. Like, if that was my only ROI, like, that's amazing, right? And how do you get that relationship? By giving them a stage. Because, you know, his inbox is full of people that want his money. And then there's this one email by this dude in Beit Shemesh, Israel, named Hillel Fuld, who doesn't want his money. In fact, he doesn't want anything. He wants to give him a stage. I fundamentally differentiated myself. Number one. Number two, I send the guy 10 questions. He sends me 10 answers. I copy and paste it onto my blog and I hit publish. What's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to go share it. And I'm sitting here getting all this traffic from the founder of Apple. Like, there's not enough money for me to pay for such a thing. And the third thing, the most important thing is everyone who sees that interview is like, oh my God, Hillel interviewed Steve Wozniak. Hillel interviewed Mark Andreessen. And my brand gets elevated without me even mentioning my name. At no point did I mention my name. I just promoted others and I get promoted. It's all about psychology. At the end of the day, it all comes back to psychology.
You know, there's just an idea that, like, you know, you have to, in order to be somebody of value in the world, you have to work on yourself, and then you can bring that value to others. And I think that relates to this, because I also see companies trying to make a mistake by, like, artificially creating what you're talking about, and you can't skip steps. Like, you have to really truly develop like a base of why I bring value to the platform that I'm giving you. And I think that companies could learn from that, but it is a little frustrating because I do find that it's like you just want to skip steps because you want to get where you want to go. Ephraim, what do you think about that?
Sure. So I think the best company that does it amazing, that sells without selling and does marketing and the way Hillel is talking about right now, which is doing educational content and not talking about themselves, is actually an Israeli company called Gong. Gong, their marketing, it doesn't even talk about them. Like if you look at any of Gong's content, nothing. There's not one word of Gong. It's all about what the salespeople, it's all about what the SDRs are hearing in the conversations. I mean, they have absolutely killed the content game. Like they've killed it.
It's totally not on my radar because it's not cybersecurity. I'm hyper focused. I'm going to check it out.
You should check it out. They have done an amazing job with exactly what Hill is saying. And I couldn't agree more about that fact. And I recently had a conversation with someone that just got a job in VC. And we had a conversation like, how could they get early stage deal flow and how could they make a name for themselves? And I basically told them the same exact thing what Hill said. I said, start a weekly newsletter, reach out to all the top VCs, right? And start a relationship, send them 10 questions, whatever it could be. And we came up with a list of questions and create something that every week people will, what's it called again? And you create a newsletter every single week. And then obviously they ask like, how will they get their name out there? Who's going to read their thing? I said, it doesn't make a difference if anyone reads it or not. The main aspect of here is you developing a relationship with that person. And now that person knows who you are. So now if they come across a deal or something, automatically they'll send it to you because you were of value to them where you let them share their thoughts. Everybody wants a stage. Everybody wants to talk. Right now, it's just a matter of like, can you provide that for them? That's all it is.
Yeah, I say everyone has a mom they want us to the interview too.
Exactly.
Me too. Yeah, no, I mean, I think like giving people a platform is one thing. And then I think like on the show, I mean, we just always keep coming back to like, you have to be really connecting to something that's deeply relevant to them. And, and you have to develop that relationship. And I think that like there are a million ways to do it. And you just can't skip steps, I think. And it always comes down to that because it's like, well, you know what? I want to take that back, actually. You can't skip steps, but I think what we're also seeing is like, just do it. Like, do something. I'm like, try it out, see where it takes you. Like, go to the next place, go to the next place. It's not even like, I would love to talk to the 20 VCs or whatever in here. Like, was that the image he had when he started, or did he just start it?
Pretty sure
like that. I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to do it like the best that I can do it and like see where it goes. I think that's maybe like another little piece of it is like, okay, if you're like a marketing team thinking about this goal, you kind of have to have a vision. Like, we want it to look like that. But are we open to like, I don't know what this is going to look like. I'm just going to bring authenticity and value every moment.
So the answer is,
I think your brother just said, "Mom."
First of all,
is that a brother or cousin? Did your dad?
That's mommy. No, I'm trying to figure it out. But here's the thing, right? So it's somewhere in the middle. It's like most things. It's somewhere in the middle, right? So it's not this and it's not that. There are certain things, like what I said, like an interview, where you know what's going to happen, right? Sure. You interview someone, they're going to share it. You're going to have a relationship with them. Great. The other side is that you're going to be producing content that won't drive immediate ROI. It won't. Trends in your industry, news in your industry, reviewing a new product in your industry, that takes time. But you can do, for example, a list, right? If I'm an AI company, top 20 VCs investing in AI, top 20 journalists covering AI, I don't even care. Every one of those 20 people is going to go and share it. And you're just sitting there getting all that traffic. So that's immediate ROI, right? But here's the thing. And I know we're short on time, so I don't want to get too much into it. But the bottom line is there's a business author named Ryan Holiday, who's amazing. And he has this strategy that like is music to my ears. He calls it a canvas strategy, okay? And it's just unbelievable. He says as follows, and I'm really trying to keep it short. He says, the way to do business in 2022 is to build canvases for other people to create masterpieces on, right? Pave the road for others to go on their way to success. But listen to this. This is so brilliant. This is how it manifests. He says, imagine for every meeting that you took, and Ephraim does this like a freaking champ. Every meeting that you take, imagine all you thought about as you're sitting with this person is, how can I help them? You take yourself out of the equation. You're literally not part of this, okay? What happens? Let's break this down. What happens? Number one, you learn to overcome diverse problems because you're always solving problems. Number two, you strengthen the relationships by helping others. Number three, you establish a reputation of being indispensable. People need you. Number four, you have an enormous bank of favors to call upon down the road, right? And this is what he says. This is literally like so profound what I'm about to tell you right now. Like, open your mind, okay? He says, everybody's like obsessed with credit and respect, whatever. He says, forget credit. Let other people take credit for your work. You don't want credit. You want nothing, okay? And here's the sentence. You ready? Listen to this. Let others take credit on credit while you defer and earn interest on the principal. Hold on, let me repeat that. Let others take credit on credit, meaning I'm coming to you and I'm saying, pay me and I'll do something. So you're paying me on credit. I'm saying, I don't want your money. I'm deferring. But when you come back to me after I've delivered, you've already experienced what I can do for you. Now there's interest on the principal. Now I have the leverage and I define the terms, not you. It is a backwards business model.
Brilliant.
It really is. And no one gets it.
I have to say that I do want to bring, like, I want to just kind of, because I try to explain this to people all the time. I say it, it's not perfect, but I like how it sounds. I say money today, money tomorrow. Money tomorrow is so much better than money today. Like, just take care of yourself. Make sure you have your lunch today, because like money tomorrow is just so much freer. And I mean, it's not the perfect way to say it, but I say it in recruiting because I think a lot of like bad recruiting is about just like getting like deals going. And for me, like, I really had to train myself in the beginning. Like, I don't want money that isn't good money. Like, it's bad. It's not good for me. It's not like, so I really like developed this idea of like, I would way rather be human in the moment and be free to just like be honest and like true in the moment. And like, really, you have to trust that it will come back to you. And I love the way you're saying it, because it's even better. Like the debt thing, like if you can have the vision of understanding like where you're investing and kind of keeping track of that, and it's real, it's human. It's like you can be a better human today. I think it connects to marketing, by the way, because I think like that's how good marketing is.
If you make everything about the financial, if you take every relationship and you make it a financial, like a monetary relationship based upon financial value, like you mentioned, let's take recruiting, for example, where it's all about, okay, I'm going to send in a bunch of candidates. Why? Because hopefully one of them will click and therefore I'm going to get my recruiting fee. There's no relationship being developed over there. Right away, you are like also pushing yourself. All you see in your mind is money, right? There's nothing over here that's saying like, hey, let me develop an authentic relationship with this person. And if you're going to develop an authentic relationship with that person, you're not going to have one time, like work with them one time, but you work with them multiple times. And it's really all about that. I think another thing, like I actually took this from Hillel years back, and I think Hillel is one of the best jobs about it. And I think so many people probably took the trick. Is another easy aspect to give credit to somebody else is that when you meet somebody, take a picture with them. Why? And you tag them. Why do you tag them? Because it's giving them value, a tremendous amount of value. Every time I meet with a startup, or Hillel meets with a startup, and you take a picture, people automatically are going to find out about. I can't tell you the countless of times people have told me. I'm sure Hillel probably has hundreds of more stories than me, where like, oh, I found it on your feed. I found this company. Therefore, I reached out to them, and now I became a client to them. Or even an investor, like, yeah.
That's great, because it brings it back to like one of the things that from the beginning, we can even like kind of work our way to the end here, but just this idea that both of you have this thing of just connecting people. And I think that this idea of I'm going to go back and like write the quote down, because I'm not going to say it the way you said it. Was so amazing. Somebody wants you to repeat it, but this
let
beautiful
the others take credit on credit while you defer and earn interest on the principal. It's called the Canvas strategy. Ryan Holiday. I have it in my iPhone favorites because I quote it 5 times a day.
I'm going to message you, and I'd love you to shortcut that back to me.
By the way,
so there you go, Jakob. You got it.
By the way, I just pinged my dad, and he's actually the smart one. We're the idiots. Why did he write mom? Because I said everyone has a mom. They want to send the interview. He's like, Mom, what about me? So that's what he meant by that.
he's feeling a little ignored, and he's watching. He's the one watching. So there you go. But I want to bring this back, because like all I'm hearing is authenticity is about like thinking of others, bringing people together, and understanding that there's long-term, like nobody's in it. There's no value in like doing something completely selflessly, like if it's not actually connected to yourself. Like everybody needs to build things. That's what we're here for. We're in this world to build, right? Like if you're just being fake humble, and it's never about me, it's never about me. The idea that these things of reinforcing others is a natural, the most authentic way to build ourselves, I think ties into the fact that you're both crazy connectors. And it's something like I relate to. I got into recruiting very fast, very hard, because I just like, that's who I am. I want to hear a little bit for a second. This is where I like to close. I want to hear, like, were you like this as a child, as a teenager? Like, can you trace this back to like something that you knew about yourself early on? I just always find there's like interesting stories here, and then I like to kind of close up on that.
So if I may, I want to answer. I'll answer your question in a second, but I have to tell you something, because this is a story that it illustrates everything that we're saying so well. Okay, people say to me all the time, like, "Oh, it's good karma," and I say, dude, forget karma. I don't pay for groceries with karma. Okay, it's not about karma. Karma's nice. Karma's nice when companies that I help don't come back to me and say, let's work together. But majority of them do. But let's talk about that karma for 1 second. I have to tell you the story because it is mind-blowing. I don't think I ever told you this, Ephraim. It is unbelievable.
You definitely didn't tell it to me. So
no, I might have told it to Ephraim, but 10 years ago, I get an email from a 19-year-old entrepreneur, shall remain unnamed now, and he says, "Hey, Hillel, I have this startup idea, and I'm told you're my guy." And I said, "Well, what does that mean? What do you need?" He says, "I need introductions to investors." I'm like, "Okay, no problem. Send me your investors deck. I'll pass it on." He goes, "No, I want to meet you." I'm like, "Why do you want to meet me? Like, what do you need?" He goes, "Introductions to investors." I'm like, "Okay, so no need to meet. Like, don't waste your time buying me coffee. I'll send your deck to investors. Like, no problem." He goes, "No, I want to meet you." I'm like, "All right." So I go meet him in Tel Aviv. Really bright kid, good guy, but he was like clueless. I mean, he's a 19-year-old entrepreneur, doesn't know what he's doing. So I took his deck and I passed it on to some investors, asked if it's relevant. And when they said yes, I introduced him. And that was that. A couple of years later, he calls me up one day and he goes, "Hillel, I sold the company." I'm like, "Wow, congrats, super happy for you." He goes, "My dad wants to meet you." I'm like, "What? Who's your dad and why does he want to meet me?" He goes, "My dad wants to know who this guy is that helped his son without asking for anything in return." I'm like, "Okay, what's your dad's name?" He gives me his name. I Google him. One of the top cancer research experts in the world. Okay. I meet him in Mr. Broadway in New York. The guy's telling me about all this cutting edge cancer research, all being done in Israel. It was a fascinating meeting, but like nothing, practical. You don't really want something practical with a guy like that, right? So oh wait, we lost her. I'm gonna continue the story. I don't know where she went, but did I tell you the story, Frank?
This story you told me. Yeah, you told me the story. I was blown away.
So for those listening,
So
for those listening, so the bottom line is, I met his dad. It was amazing, and that was the end of that. For the 7 years after that meeting, he would send me a WhatsApp here and there, like whatever. We weren't really in touch. A couple of months ago, long story short, a family friend, someone that the family knows for a long time, was diagnosed with cancer. I connected him to this guy. Oh wait, you're back?
Yeah. Could you tell that I was gone? Was I like?
Yeah. No. You just phased that. Anyway, so I connected this guy to this patient, and I said, like, he'll help you. And he was super happy to help him and whatever. 2 weeks after I introduced them, the patient writes me an email and he says to me, "Who is this?" I'm not going to say the name. "Who is this guy?" I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "The guy is bringing me to hospitals, introducing me to the world's biggest experts. He won't leave my side. He's an angel." And he says to me, and I looked at him and I said, "Why are you helping me this way? You don't even know me." And this guy looked at him and said, "What Hillel did for my son 10 years ago, whatever you need, I'm here." So I helped this entrepreneur 10 years ago. Do you think I, in my wildest dreams, thought that maybe one day it would save someone's life? So that's karma. And karma's great, but most of it is good business. When you show someone what you can do for them, it leads to good business, period.
Well, I think that good business, good marketing, as my thesis, I missed the whole middle, but my thesis is that it is being a good human. Like, I really, really believe that. It's never been disproven to me. I don't know if I'm interested in but sure, try to disprove it, but I cannot see a place where it's not true.
I agree, 100%.
So,
100%.
do we quickly get to hear a little bit about your childhood, or should we?
Yeah.
Either way.
So I'll just say, I don't know if I was like this as a child, but 100% fundamental to my entire business model is the education that I received. So my dad's in here, but I would say that if he wasn't in here, my parents are big givers. Like, my parents are both educators. My dad's very well known in the Jewish education world, and they're big givers. And I don't know if I believe in you say when you sing to a baby, they hear you. Like when a baby's in the womb, they can hear you singing. I don't know, but I'll tell you that. Right. So when my mom was pregnant with me, we were on the holiday of Sukkot, where we sit outside in huts. We were in the hut, and my parents said, "We smell smoke." My dad went inside, and the fire in the house blew down a whole thing of stairs. The house burnt down completely, and the entire neighborhood stepped up and took care of us and hosted us. And so I was kind of born into giving. Maybe that has something to do with it, but the reality is I grew up in a very giving environment, and I think that for sure impacted my business model for sure.
That's great to think about. I bet there's a lot to trace in people who have this kind of energy that they grow up like that. Ephraim, what about you?
From growing up, I have to say the same exact thing. I mean, my parents. I grew up in a home that as a young child, I remember giving up my bed for guests for Shabbos, and we had a full Shabbos table every single week on Shabbat. And growing up in Chabad in general, which is all about outreach and helping someone else, I grew up with that thing from a very young child that made a very massive influence on me. I live with I live with a very big, like the famous story of, we're put down here in this world for God willing 120 years to do someone a spiritual or material favor. That's a very big mantra of mine, and like I constantly live by that. But I totally agree with what Hillel said. Like, it's about being good business. There's no reason why. There's no mitzvah. There's no commandment that I shall be an asshole. Really, it doesn't hurt.
Totally doesn't work, right? You're gonna burn up inside. It's
Yes.
so beautiful. I love that insight. It's so profound.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking it with me everywhere. But it really is interesting to think about how much. I don't always like talk about growing up in the religious Jewish community, but it is interesting to think about, like, yeah, we're kind of like raised with this understanding that, like, if you're way too focused on yourself, like you're totally missing the point.
Yeah.
And I definitely like now, I mean, I don't talk about it so much, but like, I'm just like, I need to think about that more. Cause I'm always like, how did I end up like this? I've never had two other Orthodox people like on the show with me who grew up that way. And the truth is, like, look, raise your kids to like not think the whole world is about them, and they won't think the whole world is about them.
Yeah. Every time you meet somebody, like Hillel said, I have the same, and it's not about, okay, how am I going to benefit? No, it's how am I going to be able to help the next person? How am I going to be able to help that person? Whatever it may be. It could be business-wise, it could be personally, whatever it is. And that's how you build a really authentic, relationship with them, a real friendship. And I'm going with that mindset. I'm not going, okay, what am I going to, what's in it for me? It's not about me.
Right.
I make it about them. Right?
Yeah. That's amazing. And it's
no one personifies this more than Chabad. Like, I mean, I can tell you stories about Chabad that would blow your mind. I was on a flight to LA. We had an emergency landing in Billings, Montana. Like the airport was the size of this room. Okay. Like they'd never seen a jet before. And we were sitting in this place, obviously no kosher food. There's no customs, so we can't leave the airport. Chabad drove 6 hours to bring us food. It was like, these people are like superhuman. It's unbelievable. Every time I go to Silicon Valley, there's no kosher food in Silicon Valley. Chabad takes care of me. They're unbelievable.
I am going, okay, I hope this isn't offensive because I do love what Chabad does, but I want to say that I think it's good business and it's a really good tie-in to what we're doing. It's like, it's good business for Chabad, and we all know that. like everything they do that's like that, it does eventually have a lasting impression on somebody who's going to support the mission. And that's okay. That is not a bad thing. And I think that totally perfect ending to this, because it's like good business is good humaning. Like good humaning is also just like that business is the way we build the world. That's just what humans are here for.
If I may.
Can I just say it's not selfless? I have to throw that in there. But selfless is not selfless is okay. Like I think they do it perfectly.
So I'm going to say one more thing and then I'll let you sum up the show, but I have to say this because this is a really important point because we're talking about being a good person, but I need to just give you an example of why this isn't just like abstract like BS, and it's actually good business, right?
Yeah.
So let me just tell you a really quick story. So about 15 years ago, or whenever the iPad came out, I don't know when it was. No, not 15. Doesn't make sense. 10 years ago, whatever. The iPad came out. I'm not going to name the name of the company, but there was a new app that was released on the iPad that was just an amazing app. It was really a beautiful app. So I started to promote it. I started to write about it. I wasn't even in touch with the team. They're a team in Palo Alto that didn't know me. They have no connection to Israel. I had no relationship with them. I just loved the product. So I started to write about them. I started to promote them. I started to use the product. I just did my thing in the most organic, authentic way possible. They didn't ask me for anything, okay? This went on for about a whole decade, okay? One day I'm sitting at home and I'm reading you this email that I got from the CEO of this company in Palo Alto worth $2 billion with a B. I'm reading you the email word for word. The subject is thank you. The email, Hillel, I won't ever forget your enduring support for what we have been building over the years. It's time we got you some stock and asked you to be a formal advisor. I know you wouldn't ask for this, but it's the right thing to do. I hope you'll accept. We are only just beginning, and I could really use your advice when you have the time. All the best, Mike.
That is amazing.
Like, what? So this is just one example of literally tens, if not hundreds of examples of companies that I just helped, that I just did my thing. 6 months ago, I turn on my phone after Shabbat, I get a phone call from CEO. I didn't even remember that I helped. And he's like, you helped us 10 years ago. We put aside equity for you. We just got acquired. Give me your bank details. I was like, okay.
So, I mean, I think like Yeah. And somebody just made a comment. Like, I really hope that my comment about Chabad didn't make it sound like I didn't think it's not sincere. The whole point of my thesis around marketing and business is that it is sincere, that, you know, like there is sincerity around doing these things. You don't know when it's going to pay you back or if it's going to pay you back. You just know that you're doing the right thing in the moment, and you kind of just need to function with the belief that at the end of the day, it all works out. Big picture. It's not like that one thing is going to pay back. Otherwise, yeah, you're totally like a jerk, right? I mean,
you're not doing it for the sake of the payback. You're not going into a relationship saying, okay, I'm going to do this now because I know eventually, and at one point in time, it'll pay back. You know, I've had similar stories to Hillel's story right now. Like, you're just doing it because for the sake of doing it. You know, the startup community,
putting it out there will always come back to you. But like, I think the difference is like, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it to get something back. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And but you also know and have to have good business sense that it's on the path towards a building function to something bigger. But anyway, I love the direction this took. My gosh, we got into like Jewish stuff. I never do that. We got into spirituality and like whatever. But at the end of the day, so marketing is about good humaning. So I also, you know, we are the Cybersecurity Matchmaker. I do love introducing people to the world. I introducing people to each other. So how do people reach you guys, and who should reach out to you? Who are you looking to hang out with these days?
Brian?
I mean, first, like, reach out to me on LinkedIn. That these days is the only platform I'm utilizing. I deleted everything else.
Same.
So LinkedIn is the only platform I do right now. You can find me at Ephraim Yarmak over there. Who should reach out to? Anybody I could be of help to. It could be early stage. It could be early stage founders. It could be other people. It could be people looking to companies looking to come to New York, to the U.S. market over here, which is mainly what I do. I help them get set up over here, find talent or anything else that could be helpful to them. Yeah, that's basically the
awesome.
Basically it. Mm-hmm.
Well, anybody can reach out to me anywhere. I'm on every single platform. I deleted none. That's not true. I deleted Snapchat. No, but seriously, you can reach out on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, wherever.
Anything you're particularly interested in right now, like just curious about that somebody could offer you value?
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna sound a little cliche, but it's the truth. I've kind of had a realization, I guess, over COVID, which is that pre-COVID, I was like, I needed to work with people. I needed a good product. I needed people that are smarter than me. I needed good people. Those are the three things that I looked for. During COVID, I'm like, you know what? I could learn from anyone, and I could get behind most products. I just want to work with good people. So I've completely diversified. I'm working with a bank, with funds, with startups, with nonprofits, with public. So really, if anybody, you know, again, like Frank said, if I can help anyone with anything, no strings attached, whatever it may be, connections to investors, to the press, whatever it may be. And if there's a company out there that, you know, thinks there's synergy here, if you're good people, talk to me. That's it.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you.
I want to make a plug, shout out. Also, Hillel is looking to do more speaking gigs. So if you have any speaking gigs,
I said something specific, and
I love
he's
this guy.
amazing.
I love this guy.
Look at us. We laughed. We cried. We're better people at the end of this. So yeah,
it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
I'd go anywhere you were speaking. So all right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I'm gonna end the stream, and we will catch you guys